Good evening, Unity on the Bay. It's 6 p.m. on a Monday evening. This must be Shelf Discovery. And it's great to be with you tonight. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know as you join the conversation tonight that you're here by simply putting a little note into the comment section, like a good evening, hey, how you doing? Whatever suits your fancy. But I don't know that you're here unless you put something in the chat. So as people are gathering here tonight, we'll give them a few moments before we get started. But it is nice to be back with you after the holiday last week. Kind of hard to believe that it was already Memorial Day. I think it's Course in Miracles that refers to, or a writer from Course in Miracles that referred to the celestial speed up, which was like time and space are actually accelerating. When I first heard that, I wasn't so sure, but the longer I've been on the planet, the more I do believe it could be possible. Hey, Cindy Bender. Mwah! I love you, my dear. Love Cheryl also. Got to get together with you two before I'm out of Miami. And even though that's months away, as I just said, time is passing quickly, so got to get it on the calendar. But I hope you're doing well, and it's great to have you here, Cindy. Let me know that you're here by posting something in the chat, just like Cindy did, and then keep on posting because we have some interesting material. Hey, Linda. Glad to have you here. Dale Stein. Yes, mi amigo as well. Wonderful music yesterday. As always, we're so blessed by Dale Stein's musical direction of our musical ministry. And every Sunday, they just blow the roof off the place. Always outstanding performances. So thank you, Dale. I'm glad you're here. Let me know you're here. Post something in the chat and then keep on posting. We're going back into tonight John Heider's The Tao of Leadership. And though I don't believe John is any longer on the planet with us, at least in physical form, he was a resident of Coconut Grove. He wrote this magnificent book on the art of leading based on the concepts, the ideas, the teachings in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. And you might know that the Tao Te Ching was written as a manual or a treatise for governing one's life, governing any organization or entity. You may not think of yourself as a leader in particular, so the content of this book might not seem totally relevant to you. However, I just propose to you that we are all leaders. All of us, every one of us is leading somebody somewhere, whether we realize it or not, and we're doing so by the example of our life. Not so much what we say, but what we do, how we show up. We're constantly, I believe, demonstrating our core values in everything that we do. So from that perspective, this book to me is relevant to all of us. The Tao of Leadership could also be referred to as the Tao of living one's life, because we're always leading something, we're always organizing something. And so the principles to me are universal. But I'm really grateful that you're here tonight. Thank you again for joining me. If you just came on, please take a moment to say hello to us in the chat so we know you're here. And then keep on posting. I have a wonderful new addition to my life, friends. I think I've probably admitted to you that I'm not the best about monitoring all the aspects of my physical apparatus. But I did make a trip to the optometrist and got myself some glasses. And what the great benefit of that is tonight is it makes it easier for me to read, but also most especially to be able to decipher your messages when you put them in the post, in the chat. So thank you for doing that. Again, we're moving into the pages of John Heider's Tao of Leadership. And tonight we're going to be discussing first and foremost, if I can find it here. There we go. Appearing foolish. Should be especially relevant for me since I find it very easy sometimes to appear foolish. Glasses rock. Hey, Cindy, they do, don't they? Yes, indeed, they do. I just have to get used to them, so I keep putting them on and taking them off. But especially with reading or sitting at a computer, they're very helpful. All right, here we go. Appearing foolish. Have you ever wondered about what it means to appear foolish? or how it could possibly be beneficial to you in some way. Let's see what Heider has to say, based again on the teachings of Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. Here we go. The best work often seems idiotically simple to group members who are accustomed to this sort of leader, who are unaccustomed. Excuse me. Let me take that again. The best work often seems idiotically simple to group members who are unaccustomed to this sort of leadership. Yet a great deal happens. Perhaps it looks as if the leader is only sitting there and has no idea of what to do. But it is just this lack of needless intervention that permits the group to grow and be fertile. And I just want to throw in a personal comment here, and that would be that I have come to believe that all too often we enter into group dynamics with the idea that we know what's best for the group. And so consciously or unconsciously, we're trying to direct the group, the energy, our lives, according to some prescribed idea or ideal in our own minds. We may not even be aware of this, but we're steering the conversation. We're trying to influence the players in the room. And this goes not only for people who are outside of us, but for all of those people who are inside of us. Because we all have a little organization, inside of our minds. So I think this is about recognizing, yes, I may be entering into a dynamic here with a preconceived idea of what I'd like the outcome to be or what I think the direction should be. But to be aware enough of that to stay a little bit above it or objective with it. What I have found is that the greatest action comes from individuals who group themselves together as a body of equals, each loving and respecting one another in ways that allow every voice to be heard, whether it is agreed with or not. And that is not always an easy formula to follow, because our mind gets in there and thinks, but I know what's best, or I think my ideas and my concepts, my direction of things is superior. This is especially true, I think, of individuals in leadership roles because of the job description that's been superimposed over leaders, that the leader should know above all others the best way to go, the right way to go, and that in some way the leader is superior. My experience has been that the leader that does his or her best to avoid that sense of superiority and to try to stay at the ground level, entertaining ideas and perspectives from wherever they may come, is hugely beneficial, because there's always more power and there's always more clarity in a group think. Not always easy to manage, but what we're after here is to get everybody to recognize that they have an important part to play and to salute their own divinity and allow the space for those varied perspectives to come forth. Hi, Callie, I'm glad you're here. All the way from Seattle. Bless your sweet heart. I always appreciate seeing your name pop up on the screen. All right, let's see what it says here. I have so often related to this next paragraph. Perhaps it looks as if the leader is only sitting there and has no idea what to do. But it is just this lack of needless intervention that permits the group to grow and be fertile. Did you catch that? Sitting there, apparently not knowing what to do. That lack of needless intervention permits the group to grow and be fertile. So it's like allowing the space for the ground to be prepared and to become fertile, to grow the ideas that are going to come out of any interaction. Perhaps some disappointed group member expected an expert who would expound freely. But what this leader says is so obvious, it often sounds simple-minded. Even this leader's honesty may seem strangely perplexing. Appearing foolish does not matter. Well, let me just take a moment here and say, may not matter to John Heider, but it certainly has mattered to me in the past. Who wants to appear foolish? And who would not be concerned if they were appearing foolish? See, it's getting beyond that idea of, in many ways, caring so much or too much about what other people think or how other people are perceiving you as a leader, as an individual in life, living your life. Appearing foolish does not matter. When you're cold, you flap your arms to get warm. When you're overheated, you keep still. This is common sense. The leader's stillness overcomes the group's agitation. And here's the kicker. The leader's consciousness is the primary tool of this work. Now, that doesn't matter whether you're leading, guiding, directing an organization, a group of individuals, or just simply living your life from day to day and leading by the example of your life from day to day. The leader's consciousness, your consciousness, my consciousness, is the primary tool of this work. How does that resonate with you, folks? Consciousness above action. Or I'm reminded of a statement from Abraham Hicks, to the degree of like an ounce of vibration is worth a pound. I'm putting this in my own vernacular. An ounce of vibration is worth a pound of effort. If the vibration is clear, and the vibration is what's being emitted by the consciousness. So if the vibration is clear, if the consciousness is clear, then you're set to go. Your actions, you can be so much more effective in life if you're less action oriented and more consciousness or vibrationally oriented and clear. Because if you're on the right wavelength vibrationally, is this making sense to you? If you're on the right, if your head is in the right space, if your consciousness is in the right space, you're going to be in the space whereby right and effective and efficient action can be taken in an individual's life or in the life of an organization. So consciousness is the primary tool of this work. You're being mighty quiet out there tonight. What do you think about that? Consciousness, vibration, the energy, the attitude that we're bringing to anything in life is more important than the action. Because if that is right, if you've got the energy and the attitude and the consciousness, the effective action is going to be born out of that. And it's super potent, effective action. Some of you probably know that over the past, I would say certainly 8 years, I've been possessed by this strange and curious thing called minimalism. And I know it's a popular fad right now, you know, as opposed to how much can I consume, how much can I own, becomes more like how little can I consume, how little can I own. And I'm loving the results of this. You know, I'm getting ready to make a move later in the year. And I'm so grateful that for the past 8 years, I've unloaded so many physical possessions. I've uncluttered my life. And while I've always been basically an organized person, I've just taken that to an extreme. But it's been a delightful extreme. And I share that with you as we move into this next chapter of the Tao of Leadership, titled Unclutter Your Mind. Beginners acquire new theories and techniques until their minds are cluttered with options. Advanced students forget their many options. They allow the theories and techniques that they have learned to recede into the background. Learn to unclutter your mind. Learn to simplify your work. Oh, Daisy, thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for extending those good wishes. It's a delightful extreme abundance. Yeah, amen to that. You actually, you know, sometimes if you own less, you can appreciate more. Because what I found is as I've reduced the level of clutter in my life, I've been able to retain those items that are really meaningful to me. If you look back here on this wall, you can see a couple of, well, you can't see them very well, but works of art that my son has created, which are all over my apartment. those are keepers, because every time I pass by them, I think of him and I think of his talent and I think of my love for him. Learn to unclutter your mind. Learn to simplify your work. As you rely less and less on knowing just what to do, your work will become more direct and more powerful. You will discover that the quality of your consciousness is more potent than any technique or theory or interpretation. That's because when your consciousness is clear, you become phenomenally direct and powerful. Knowing just what to do, this is my interpretation of what he's saying here. Knowing just what to do is kind of a dangerous place to be, I think, because you enter in with the idea that you know what's going on, and that can, not always, but it can inhibit a person's ability to allow whatever is emerging to be noticed, recognized, and utilized, because you only see what's within the context of your point of focus in this life. So if you go into a situation or life feeling really, really certain, I know what needs to be done here, I know what needs to happen, and I'm going to make it happen, it's a precarious spot to be in. It's a delicate spot to be in. So this idea of confidence coming from knowing exactly what to do, as opposed to, that would be self-confidence, but having confidence in the group that you are seeking to lead, or having confidence in life in general. And there's nothing more powerful than that level of confidence. Cindy Binder, the less clutter around you equals the less clutter inside of you, open to new energy and possibilities. I could not agree with you more. I have often said, and try every day to remember, that life is an external expression of an internal dynamic. And to go a little Course in Miracles on you, the world I see is a projection of the content of my own mind. And if the content of my mind is cluttered, that's why the rule of simplicity is valuable, yes, in physical possessions, but also in really not over cluttering our minds with too many theories, too many concepts, too many ideas. And one way to discover that is to look around your environment and just see, because remember, your environment is a reflection of your consciousness if you buy the Course in Miracles perspective. Just see how much there is, and not only how much there is, but how useful it really is to you, how valuable it is to you. Linda, hi Linda, I love it. The clarity and passion. Yeah. Great things come out of an uncluttered, peaceful, contented mind and heart. Learn to unclutter your mind. Learn to simplify your work. As you rely less and less on knowing just what to do, your work will become more direct and more powerful. You will discover the quality of your consciousness is more potent than any technique or theory or interpretation. Learn how fruitful the blocked group or individual suddenly becomes when you give up trying to do the best thing in your mind. Linda, in this information age, I must constantly focus to prioritize. Oh, thank you, Cindy. I must have picked that up psychically, because, yeah, I just put them back on. Part of the reason why I have never really liked wearing glasses, even though they are helpful, is because I sometimes feel like there's a wall between me and the individuals that I'm talking to, even though it's a glass wall. But I'll get used to them more and more as this time rolls along. Linda, thank you. In this information age, yeah, there's so much information out there, isn't there? There's so much going on. It really is increasingly important in the world in which we live today to be mindful of what we're really going to give our attention and our focus to, and to constantly prioritize. Because there's just, as we know, an endless volume of information dancing around the world that's all available to us now, which used to not be the case. But of course, now we are in the information age. Thank you for that, Linda. All righty. Here's another good one. If you want to pour into another chapter here, this is be open to whatever emerges. The wise leader does not impose a personal agenda or value system on the group. Now, remember, we're talking about just not organizational leadership, but also could even say on the world or on life. The wise leader does not impose a personal agenda or value system. It doesn't mean that the wise leader doesn't have an agenda or a value system, but they realize that their role is not to impose that upon other people. Again, it's like breaking out of this, from my perspective, this hierarchical structure of I'm the leader, I'm the boss, I know what's going on here, and everybody needs to follow me, because what do? You follow the leader. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you try to, maybe you admire some aspects of the way the leader lives their life, but just to follow the leader doesn't feel very empowering to me. What I would say is join the leader on the level of total equality and see what happens as the leader establishes an environment in which, again, all voices are heard, appreciated, and respected. The leader follows the group's lead and is open to whatever emerges. These are not easy principles to adopt, nor are the teachings of the Tao Te Ching, but then if you look at it, nor are the teachings of the universal spiritual principles of spirituality. The leader judges no one and is attentive to both good and bad people. It does not even matter whether a person is telling the truth or lying. Being open and attentive is more effective than being judgmental. This is because people naturally tend to be good and truthful when they are being received in a good and truthful manner. What you see is what you get. Remember, this cast of characters, whomever they may be in your life, they're all in some way reflections of narratives that are going on in your own mind, I believe. So it's important to at least be mindful of judgments we may be laying on other people, and if at all possible, rise above them or transcend them. Being open and attentive is more effective than being judgmental. This is because people naturally tend to be good and truthful when they are being received in a good and truthful manner. Love that. Perhaps the leader seems naive and childlike in this uncritical openness to whatever emerges. But openness is simply more potent than any system of judgments ever devised. This kind of reminds me of mindfulness, releasing judgments, preconceived ideas about what's going on, how it needs to proceed, which is just the overriding theme of Taoism, and allowing whatever is present to move through its own process, believing, having confidence and faith that life itself, when left non-judged or unjudged, and when allowed to simply be, has its own momentum and has its own harmony. Cindy, it's always the same theme. Isn't it though, Cindy? Always the same theme. Cindy, you and I and some of the rest of us here, we've been studying these books back in the old Mystical Minds days, We've been studying these books, and one of the things you notice is that there are common denominators in all of this material. And the themes really are all the same, though the verbiage and the way it's communicated might be different. But it is essentially pretty much all the same message. So being open to whatever emerges, that's be a good test for us this coming week, just to see how open we can be to whatever emerges in every moment of our lives, open and receptive. And if God is all there is, our openness and receptivity is going to help us to exchange our judgmental analysis of what's going on with a receptivity that whatever, regardless of what we think is going on, whatever we think is going on out there doesn't really matter as much as our ability to pull back, be objective, and allow, you could say, the presence of God to emerge from the individual or the circumstance. Dale Stein, thank goodness there are myriad ways to sing about said theme. There are myriad ways, my friend Dale, and there are myriad songs, and Dale knows this. Dale knows this, that you can take almost any song and, so to speak, spiritualize it. Probably not all of them. I'm sure Dale knows of a few, but there are so many ways you can spiritualize lyrics, music. Music, you don't really have to spiritualize. It just comes that way. All right, let's do one more. We got about 4 minutes left here before we wrap this up tonight. Here we go. Chapter 57, doing less and being more. Run an honest, open group. Your job is to facilitate and illuminate what is happening. Interfere as little as possible. And again, I'm saying this doesn't have to be somebody that's leading a group of individuals. It can simply be you standing in the presence of your own life experience. Your job is to facilitate and illuminate what is happening. Interfere as little as possible. Interference, however brilliant, creates a dependency on the leader. And you might say, well, shouldn't we all have a dependency on our leaders? I don't particularly think so. I think that the leader is not one who creates dependency from others on themselves, but rather one who realizes truly that we're all in this together, and that there are no opinions, perspectives, pathways, ideas that are better than others. The fewer the rules, the better. The fewer the rules, the better. Rules reduce freedom and responsibility. Enforcement of rules is coercive and manipulative, which diminishes spontaneity and absorbs group energy. The more coercive you are, the more resistant the group will become. Your manipulations will only breed evasions. Every law creates an outlaw. This is no way to run a group. Now, I'm going to wrap this up tonight by saying that, and I am not coming to you tonight as some kind of superior leader, or that's not my point. My point is that what I have found is, and I'm better at this on some days than others, what I have found is that the more I can trust other individuals, the more I can recognize their talents and the value of what they are bringing to the mix of my life or the life of an organization like Unity on the Bay, the more I have seen these individuals flourish. And I do not believe that would have occurred had there been a more heavy-handed method of leading or guiding an organization toward its accomplishments. I believe everybody at the heart and soul and core of their being wants to be recognized for their own value, for their own talents and skills and abilities and experience. And to whatever degree I believe I have been able to do that on the better days, the more I have seen, in the case of Unity on the Bay, the staff, the sacred servers, I've seen them all really rise up to this occasion. I really believe, my friends, that we're moving out of the era of dictatorship. It may not seem that way as we look out on the world upon us, but I think that leaders are softening that approach. And I think that individuals who work with leaders are less willing today than ever to accept that old hierarchical leadership model. And my encouragement to you today as we wrap this up tonight would be, whether it's an organization, if you happen to be running an organization, or whether it's just life itself, try to be a little less prescribed in how we approach it, a little more willing to allow it to reveal what it has to reveal, especially in those moments when we may be a little fearful about something. Try to be a little less prescribed in how we approach it, a little more willing to allow it to reveal what it has to reveal, especially in those moments when we may be a little fearful about something. Try to be a little less prescribed in how we approach it, a little more willing to allow it to reveal what it has to reveal, especially in those moments when we may be a little fearful about something. about an outcome for which we may feel responsible. Trust the process. How often have you heard that in this spiritual work? Trust the process. So see what you can do this week, especially when things may not seem to be going your way, to trust the process and trust the players involved. They'll feel that trust, and I believe they'll respond to it. Before we wrap up here, a quick note about next week. I'm going to be in Kansas City, attending the Unity Convention at Unity Village and nearby city, Overland Park, Kansas, on the Kansas-Missouri line. So I will not be with you next week for Shelf Discovery. We will not have a program next week. The following week, I will still be in Kansas City, hopefully finding my right and perfect home therein. So Carmen Navedo has graciously accepted the task of facilitating Shelf Discovery for you. She'll be speaking with you on the subject of The Way of Mastery, a profoundly beautiful book that's been meaningful, I know, to both of us. Then I'll be back on June 27th for the Tao of Leadership, Part 3. And so I'll see you again on the 27th. Carmen will be with you on the 20th. Next week, we take a little break. Thank you, Juan. I love you. And I am inspired by the leadership that you have brought, are bringing, and praise God will continue to bring to this beloved spiritual community. Have a good night, Juan. Have a good night, June. You're very welcome. With you about finding a home. I know, June, your name is on my prayer list every morning. So I'm holding that thought of the right and perfect home for you as well. Love to you as well, Dale. Everybody have a great night, good evening. And I'll see you, what did I say? On the 27th. Carmen with you on the 20th. Be well, my friends. Much love to everybody. And thank you, Linda. I am going to enjoy my time there. It's my home away from home. And beautiful, meaningful place for me. Have a great night. We'll see you in a couple weeks. And God bless everybody. Blessings to you, Dale. And blessings to you, Callie. Bye for now.